Imagine a world where every need is met, every desire fulfilled, and every conflict resolved, a utopia where suffering no longer exists, and happiness is constant. Sounds perfect, doesn't it? But what if I told you that even in this flawless paradise, humanity would find a way to create chaos, disrupt perfection, and bring back the very suffering it sought to escape? Fyodor Dostoevsky, one of the greatest literary minds in history, argued just that. He believed our flaws, contradictions, and even our pain are not obstacles to happiness, but essential parts of what it means to be human. His works, brimming with deep philosophical insights, challenge us to rethink the very nature of existence. Why do we sabotage our happiness? Why do we resist perfection? And how can we find meaning in the chaos of our lives? In this video, we're diving into Dostoevsky's profound wisdom, his exploration of human suffering, faith, redemption, and the beauty of imperfection. Through his unforgettable characters and timeless stories, Dostoevsky unveils truths about ourselves we often shy away from. By the end of this journey, you might not only see the world differently, you might see yourself differently. If you enjoy content like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support keeps these conversations alive and allows us to create even more thought-provoking content. And if you'd like to go the extra mile, consider donating through the link below to help us continue exploring ideas that matter. Now, let's step into the mind of Dostoevsky and uncover the lessons he left for humanity. Fyodor Dostoevsky stands out as one of the most influential literary and philosophical minds in history. His works transcend storytelling, serving as profound examinations of the human psyche and the nature of existence. At the heart of his philosophy is a sobering realization. The more intensely humanity strives for happiness and perfection, the further it veers from these goals. This paradox, central to Dostoevsky's worldview, emerges from his reflections on suffering, human irrationality, and the limits of reason. Dostoevsky's life itself mirrors the themes he so vividly explores in his writing. Born in Moscow in 1821, his early years were marked by the comforts of a middle-class upbringing. However, these comforts were abruptly shattered by the untimely deaths of both his parents, his mother to tuberculosis and his father under mysterious circumstances, possibly murdered by disgruntled serfs. These losses, compounded by his experiences living on hospital grounds where his father worked, exposed him to human suffering from a young age. This intimate familiarity with pain and mortality undoubtedly shaped Dostoevsky's lifelong exploration of suffering as a cornerstone of human existence. As Dostoevsky matured, he found himself increasingly drawn to literature and philosophy. His early success with Poor Folk seemed to herald the arrival of a literary prodigy. Yet, subsequent failures pushed him into financial and emotional turmoil, a pattern that would define much of his life. His association with radical political groups advocating utopian socialism led to his arrest in 1849. Sentenced to death by firing squad, Dostoevsky experienced a harrowing psychological ordeal as he stood moments away from execution, only to be pardoned at the last second. This mock execution, designed to instill fear, was followed by years of grueling labor in Siberia, a period that profoundly transformed his worldview. Emerging from Siberia, Dostoevsky abandoned the utopian ideals he once embraced. His later works reflect a deep skepticism of humanity's capacity for rational self-governance and an unwavering focus on spiritual and psychological introspection. In Notes from Underground, Dostoevsky critiques the Enlightenment belief in progress and reason as pathways to human fulfillment. The protagonist, the underground man, serves as a biting caricature of modernity's disillusioned individual. He is angry, resentful, and disconnected, not only from others, but also from himself. This alienation underscores Dostoevsky's argument that suffering is an inescapable aspect of life, rooted in the very fabric of human nature. The underground man's disdain for rationality and his rejection of utopian ideals reflect Dostoevsky's belief that such pursuits often ignore the complexities of human irrationality. Dostoevsky's insights on suffering challenge the modern obsession with eliminating pain and discomfort. He suggests that suffering is not only inevitable but also essential for personal growth and self-awareness. In one of his most memorable observations, he writes, "Man only likes to count his troubles. He doesn't calculate his happiness." This statement encapsulates the paradoxical human tendency to focus on what is lacking, rather than appreciating what is present. Dostoevsky argues that attempts to eradicate suffering often lead to unintended consequences, as they fail to address the deeper, existential sources of human discontent. The idea that suffering is fundamental to human life resonates strongly in Crime and Punishment, one of Dostoevsky's most celebrated works. The novel follows Raskolnikov, a young man who rationalizes the murder of a pawnbroker as a means to achieve a greater good. Raskolnikov's actions are guided by a nihilistic worldview that prioritizes reason and self-interest over moral and spiritual considerations. Yet, his calculated decision plunges him into a psychological abyss, revealing the flaws in his reasoning and the limitations of his self-perception. Through Raskolnikov's torment, Dostoevsky critiques the notion that morality can be determined solely through rationality or utilitarian principles. Instead, he emphasizes the complexity of the human psyche and the dangers of disregarding the spiritual dimensions of existence. Dostoevsky's portrayal of Raskolnikov also highlights the theme of self-deception, a recurring motif in his work. Raskolnikov believes himself to be a man of exceptional intellect and moral fortitude, capable of transcending conventional ethics. However, his guilt and suffering expose the fragility of this self-image. This disconnect between who we think we are and who we truly are is central to Dostoevsky's exploration of human nature. He suggests that self-awareness is both difficult and painful, often requiring us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves. The tension between individual freedom and societal constraints is another key theme in Dostoevsky's work. He warns against the dangers of pursuing utopian ideals that promise freedom and equality but ultimately strip individuals of their autonomy. In Notes from Underground, the Underground Man rejects the idea of a perfect society, arguing that such a system would reduce humans to mere cogs in a machine, devoid of agency and creativity. This critique is particularly relevant in today's world, where technological advancements and social engineering often aim to optimize human behavior. Dostoevsky reminds us that humanity's inherent irrationality and desire for self-expression cannot be reconciled with rigid systems of control. While Dostoevsky's philosophy may seem bleak, it also contains a profound sense of hope. He believed that suffering, though inevitable, could lead to redemption and spiritual growth. This theme is evident in Crime and Punishment, where Raskolnikov's eventual confession and acceptance of his guilt paved the way for his redemption. Dostoevsky suggests that true freedom lies not in the absence of suffering but in the ability to find meaning and purpose within it. Dostoevsky's reflections on suffering and redemption are perhaps best illustrated through a modern analogy. Consider a person struggling with addiction. The initial allure of escapism and pleasure gives way to a cycle of pain and self-destruction. It is only through confronting their suffering and taking responsibility for their actions that they can begin the journey toward recovery. This process mirrors Dostoevsky's belief in the transformative power of suffering and the importance of self-awareness. Another example can be drawn from everyday life. Imagine someone who spends years chasing professional success, sacrificing relationships and personal well-being in the process. Despite achieving their goals, they find themselves unfulfilled, haunted by a sense of emptiness. This scenario echoes Dostoevsky's critique of humanity's misguided pursuit of happiness through external achievements. He reminds us that true fulfillment comes not from avoiding suffering, but from embracing it as a necessary part of the human experience. Dostoevsky's exploration of suffering also extends to his critique of modernity's reliance on science and technology as solutions to human problems. He argues that these advancements, while valuable, cannot address the deeper, existential questions that define our lives. In Notes from Underground, the Underground Man mocks the idea of a perfectly rational society, warning that such a vision ignores the chaotic and contradictory nature of human existence. This skepticism remains relevant in today's world, where the rapid pace of technological progress often outstrips our ability to understand its implications. Ultimately, Dostoevsky's philosophy challenges us to confront the uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the world around us. He reminds us that suffering is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be accepted and understood. Through his works, he offers a vision of humanity that is both deeply flawed and profoundly beautiful, capable of great suffering but also of redemption and growth. In this way, Dostoevsky's insights continue to resonate, inviting us to reflect on the complexities of our existence and the choices we make. Dostoevsky's early life was deeply marked by personal tragedy and exposure to suffering, experiences that would profoundly shape his philosophy and literary voice. Born in Moscow in 1821 into a relatively well-off Orthodox Christian family, his upbringing initially offered stability and privilege. However, this foundation was abruptly dismantled by the untimely deaths of both his parents. His mother, Maria, succumbed to tuberculosis when he was still a teenager, leaving a void that was only compounded by his father's mysterious and violent demise. Mikhail Dostoevsky, a physician known for his authoritarian demeanor, reportedly met his end at the hands of his serfs, allegedly as an act of vengeance. While the exact details of his death remain unclear, the event cast a long shadow over Dostoevsky's life and introduced him early to themes of human cruelty and retribution. Adding to these formative experiences was his upbringing on the grounds of a hospital where his father worked. Here, Dostoevsky witnessed human suffering in its most raw and unfiltered form. The sight of patients enduring pain and battling mortality left an indelible impression on the young Fyodor, instilling in him a deep understanding of life's fragility and the inevitability of suffering. This proximity to both privilege and despair created a dichotomy that he would explore repeatedly in his works, challenging readers to grapple with the contradictions of the human condition. Despite his literary inclinations, Dostoevsky initially pursued a career in engineering, attending the Nikolaev Military Engineering Institute in St. Petersburg. Yet, it quickly became evident that his passion lay elsewhere. His debut novel, Poor Folk, published in 1846, brought him immediate recognition. The work, which depicted the struggles of the impoverished, resonated with critics and established him as a promising new voice in Russian literature. However, this initial success was fleeting. Dostoevsky's subsequent works failed to achieve similar acclaim, and he found himself grappling with both professional and financial difficulties. These challenges pushed Dostoevsky into a turbulent period of his life. In the late 1840s, he became involved with the Petrashevsky Circle, a group of intellectuals and writers who advocated for socialist ideals. This association, though intellectually stimulating, proved perilous. In 1849, the Russian government, wary of dissidents, arrested Dostoevsky and his comrades. The charges led to his conviction and a death sentence. On the day of his execution, he stood with his fellow prisoners, facing a firing squad, fully believing that his life was about to end. At the last moment, however, the execution was revealed to be a mockery, a psychological tactic designed to instill fear and submission. Instead of death, Dostoevsky was sent to Siberia for 4 years of hard labor, followed by compulsory military service. The Siberian exile marked a turning point in Dostoevsky's life and philosophy. Stripped of his earlier ambitions and ideals, he was forced to confront the stark realities of human suffering and the depths of his own psyche. His experiences in the labor camp, surrounded by criminals and outcasts, exposed him to the raw and unvarnished aspects of human nature. It was during this time that Dostoevsky experienced a spiritual awakening, turning away from the utopian socialism he had once espoused and embracing a more introspective and faith-centered worldview. This transformation is evident in his later works, where themes of redemption, spiritual struggle, and the complexities of human nature take center stage. Emerging from Siberia a changed man, Dostoevsky resumed his literary career with renewed vigor. The themes of suffering and redemption that had shaped his own life now became the cornerstones of his writing. For instance, in his semi-autobiographical novel, The House of the Dead, He drew upon his experiences in the labor camp to explore the lives and struggles of the convicts he had lived alongside. The book offers a nuanced portrayal of human resilience and the possibility of moral and spiritual renewal, even in the harshest conditions. To understand the impact of Dostoevsky's early life on his philosophy, consider the concept of post-traumatic growth, where individuals emerge stronger and more introspective after enduring significant hardships. Dostoevsky's life epitomizes this phenomenon. His near execution, exile, and personal losses forced him to confront the darkest aspects of existence, but they also imbued him with a profound sense of empathy and an acute awareness of life's spiritual dimensions. This duality, pain as both a destructive and transformative force, became a central theme in his work. A modern parallel might be found in the experiences of individuals who overcome significant adversities, such as surviving a life-threatening illness or enduring a period of profound loss. These challenges often lead to a deeper appreciation of life and a re-evaluation of one's priorities. Similarly, Dostoevsky's trials gave him a unique perspective on the human condition, one that continues to resonate with readers today. In examining Dostoevsky's early life and its influence on his philosophy, it becomes clear that his personal experiences were not merely background details but integral components of his intellectual and artistic evolution. The tragedies he endured and the suffering he witnessed shaped his understanding of human nature, imbuing his work with an authenticity and depth that few writers have achieved. Through his exploration of suffering, redemption, and the complexities of the human psyche, Dostoevsky offers timeless insights into the struggles and triumphs that define our shared humanity. Dostoevsky's exploration of suffering is a cornerstone of his philosophical legacy, as he viewed it not as an aberration to be eradicated, but as an intrinsic and inevitable aspect of human existence. This perspective stands in stark contrast to the prevailing Western ideals of his time, which often championed rationality and technological progress as pathways to a utopian society. In Notes from Underground, Dostoevsky crafts a biting critique of these notions through the voice of his protagonist, the underground man, a character who embodies humanity's discontent and its complex relationship with freedom, suffering, and individuality. The underground man is a deeply flawed, bitter, and paradoxical figure. He resents society, its expectations, and its structures, yet he also despises himself. This duality makes him a powerful vehicle for Dostoevsky's critique of modernity. The character's disdain for rationality and progress reveals the limitations of these ideals in addressing the deeper, existential aspects of human nature. For Dostoevsky, the pursuit of a perfect society free from suffering and full of happiness is not only futile but dangerous, as it denies the fundamental irrationality and contradictions that define humanity. One of the most striking insights in Notes from Underground comes from the underground man's observation that man only likes to count his troubles. He doesn't calculate his happiness. This line encapsulates the paradox of human nature. Despite our stated desire for happiness, we are often more attuned to our suffering. Dostoevsky believed this was not a flaw to be corrected, but an essential part of what makes us human. Our preoccupation with troubles and pain stems from a deeper craving for agency and individuality. Even when faced with the possibility of a life free from suffering, humans are likely to reject it, as it would require surrendering the very freedom that allows us to define ourselves. To illustrate this point, imagine a hypothetical scenario in which every material and emotional need is met, a world where there is no hunger, no illness, and no conflict. While this might sound like paradise, Dostoevsky would argue that such a world would be intolerable for humans. Without challenges or the opportunity to make meaningful choices, life would lose its depth and significance. People might even create conflict or suffering, consciously or unconsciously, as a way to assert their individuality and agency. This perspective is vividly portrayed in Notes from Underground, where the underground man mocks the idea of a perfect society, suggesting that humans would inevitably disrupt it out of sheer spite or a desire to prove their freedom. Dostoevsky's critique of utopian ideals extends beyond the individual to encompass societal and political structures. He warns that attempts to engineer a perfect society often lead to unintended consequences, as they fail to account for the complexities and contradictions of human nature. Rationality and progress, while valuable, are insufficient as guiding principles for human life. They cannot address the deeper, existential questions that arise from our awareness of suffering and mortality. This is why the underground man rejects the notion that humanity can be reduced to a formula or that happiness can be achieved through a mechanistic approach to life. A modern example of this can be seen in the rise of technology-driven solutions to human problems. While advances in artificial intelligence, automation, and data analytics have undoubtedly improved many aspects of life, they have also introduced new challenges and ethical dilemmas. For instance, social media platforms, designed to connect people and foster communication, have been shown to contribute to feelings of loneliness, anxiety, and polarization. This paradox mirrors Dostoevsky's argument that progress often transforms suffering rather than eliminating it. The problems we solve give rise to new ones, and the cycle continues. Dostoevsky's exploration of suffering is not merely a critique of modernity, but also a meditation on the deeper truths of the human condition. He believed that suffering was not something to be avoided at all costs, but a necessary part of personal growth and self-awareness. In Notes from Underground, the underground man's struggles with his own contradictions and limitations serve as a microcosm of humanity's broader existential dilemma. We are simultaneously drawn to and repelled by suffering, recognizing its role in shaping our identities even as we seek to escape it. This duality can be seen in everyday life. Consider the experience of striving for a significant achievement, such as running a marathon or completing a challenging project. The process is often fraught with discomfort, frustration, and even pain. Yet, it is precisely these struggles that make the accomplishment meaningful. Without the challenges and the suffering that accompany them, the victory would feel hollow. Dostoevsky's philosophy reminds us that it is through suffering that we discover our resilience, our values, and our capacity for growth. Another relatable example is the way people navigate relationships. Love, friendship, and family connections are sources of immense joy, but they are also accompanied by vulnerability, conflict, and, at times, heartbreak. The richness of these relationships comes not from their perfection, but from the challenges and imperfections that make them uniquely human. Dostoevsky understood that the pursuit of happiness often leads us into situations that require us to confront pain and uncertainty. This confrontation, rather than the avoidance of suffering, is what gives life its depth and meaning. Dostoevsky's insights on suffering also have profound implications for how we approach social and political issues. Efforts to create a more just and equitable society are noble and necessary, but they must be grounded in a realistic understanding of human nature. Utopian visions that promise to eliminate suffering or achieve perfect harmony are likely to fail because they overlook the complexities and contradictions that define us. Instead of seeking to eradicate suffering, we might focus on fostering resilience, empathy, and a sense of shared humanity. For Dostoevsky, the acknowledgement of suffering was not a call to despair but an invitation to embrace the full spectrum of human experience. His works challenge us to confront the uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the world we inhabit. They remind us that life's value lies not in the absence of pain, but in our ability to find meaning and purpose in the face of it. This perspective is as relevant today as it was in Dostoevsky's time, offering a counterpoint to the modern emphasis on comfort, convenience, and instant gratification. In the end, Dostoevsky's exploration of suffering reveals a profound truth about the human condition: that our struggles, far from being obstacles to happiness, are essential to our growth and self-understanding. By accepting the inevitability of suffering and embracing it as a fundamental part of life, we can move beyond the superficial pursuit of happiness and discover deeper, more enduring forms of fulfillment. Through the voice of the underground man, Dostoevsky invites us to reflect on our own lives and the ways in which we navigate the tension between freedom, individuality, and the universal experience of suffering. In Crime and Punishment, Dostoevsky crafts a profound narrative that delves into the human psyche, morality, and the tension between reason and conscience. The protagonist, Rodion Raskolnikov, embodies this struggle, a former law student grappling with poverty. Raskolnikov is deeply influenced by nihilistic and utilitarian philosophies. He convinces himself that murder is justifiable if it serves a greater good, believing that extraordinary individuals have the right to transcend conventional morality. This belief sets the stage for one of the most compelling explorations of guilt, morality, and redemption in literary history. Raskolnikov's decision to murder a pawnbroker, Alyona Ivanovna, is framed as an act of rational calculation. He views her as a louse, a parasitic figure whose death could benefit society. He plans to use her money to improve his circumstances, aid his family, and ultimately contribute to the greater good. His reasoning aligns with utilitarian principles, which prioritize actions that maximize societal benefit. However, the murder and the unintended killing of Alyona's innocent sister, Lizaveta, shatters his self-image and plunges him into psychological chaos. Dostoevsky uses Raskolnikov's torment to critique the seductive but flawed logic of moral relativism and the danger of detaching ethical decisions from human empathy and spiritual considerations. Raskolnikov's descent into guilt and paranoia highlights humanity's inability to reconcile cold reason with the complexities of morality. While his intellect justifies the murder, his conscience rebels. He becomes haunted by his crime, experiencing intense emotional and physical symptoms that reflect the depth of his inner conflict. He isolates himself, oscillating between justification and self-condemnation, and his interactions with others reveal his fractured state. This psychological unraveling underscores Dostoevsky's argument that reason alone cannot guide morality, as it fails to account for the profound emotional and spiritual dimensions of human existence. The portrayal of Raskolnikov's guilt serves as a counterpoint to his initial rationalizations. Despite his intellectual justification for the murder, he cannot escape the moral weight of his actions. His guilt manifests not only as psychological torment, but also as a metaphysical burden, suggesting that morality is deeply ingrained in the human soul. Dostoevsky implies that even the most calculated and reasoned actions cannot override the innate sense of right and wrong. This idea challenges the utilitarian belief that morality can be reduced to a cost-benefit analysis, highlighting the limitations of purely rational frameworks in addressing ethical dilemmas. To make this point relatable, consider a modern example. Imagine someone who cheats in a professional setting, rationalizing their actions as necessary for career advancement or financial stability. They might argue that their success will allow them to provide for their family or contribute to charitable causes, framing their dishonesty as a means to a greater good. However, the guilt and stress that often accompany such actions can erode their sense of self-worth and lead to emotional and psychological distress. This mirrors Raskolnikov's experience, demonstrating how actions that conflict with one's moral compass can have profound and lasting consequences. Dostoevsky's critique of moral relativism extends beyond individual actions to broader societal implications. He warns that detaching morality from spiritual and ethical foundations can lead to a dehumanizing worldview. Raskolnikov's belief in the extraordinary man theory exemplifies this danger. He sees himself as part of an elite class of individuals like Napoleon who are justified in breaking moral laws for the sake of progress. However, his failure to embody this ideal reveals the fallacy of such thinking. Dostoevsky argues that no individual, regardless of their intelligence or ambition, can escape the inherent flaws and limitations of human nature. This theme is particularly relevant in contemporary discussions about power and responsibility. Leaders and decision-makers who view themselves as above moral constraints often justify unethical actions in the name of progress or efficiency. From corporate scandals to political corruption, the consequences of such thinking are evident. Dostoevsky's insights remind us that true leadership requires humility, empathy, and accountability, qualities that acknowledge the moral complexities of human life. Raskolnikov's eventual repentance marks a turning point in the novel and serves as a powerful affirmation of Dostoevsky's belief in the possibility of redemption. His confession to the police is not merely an admission of guilt, but an act of spiritual surrender. By acknowledging his wrongdoing and accepting the consequences, Raskolnikov begins to confront the contradictions within himself. This journey towards self-awareness and redemption reflects Dostoevsky's broader philosophical message that true understanding of oneself requires an honest confrontation with one's flaws and limitations. The role of Sonia Marmeladov, a symbol of compassion and faith, is pivotal in Raskolnikov's redemption. Sonia, despite her own suffering and moral compromises, embodies forgiveness and spiritual resilience. Her unwavering belief in Raskolnikov's capacity for redemption inspires him to seek forgiveness and embrace a path of repentance. Through their relationship, Dostoevsky illustrates the transformative power of love, faith, and human connection. Sonia's influence highlights the importance of empathy and compassion in overcoming guilt and finding redemption. A relatable example of this dynamic can be seen in the support systems that help individuals recover from personal failures or mistakes, whether through the guidance of a trusted mentor, the forgiveness of a loved one, or the encouragement of a community. Such relationships play a crucial role in fostering growth and healing. Raskolnikov's journey underscores the idea that redemption is not a solitary process, but one that is deeply intertwined with the support and compassion of others. Dostoevsky's exploration of guilt and redemption in Crime and Punishment also challenges the reader to reflect on their own moral assumptions. The novel's portrayal of Raskolnikov is nuanced, eliciting both condemnation and empathy. By presenting him as a complex and multifaceted character, Dostoevsky encourages readers to grapple with the contradictions and ambiguities of human nature. This approach fosters a deeper understanding of morality as a dynamic and evolving process, rather than a fixed set of rules. The psychological depth of Crime and Punishment continues to resonate in modern contexts, particularly in discussions about mental health and the human capacity for change. Raskolnikov's struggles with guilt, isolation, and self-identity mirror the experiences of individuals grappling with anxiety, depression, or existential crises. His journey serves as a reminder that healing and redemption are possible, even in the face of profound guilt and despair. By confronting his inner demons and seeking forgiveness, Raskolnikov demonstrates the resilience of the human spirit and the transformative potential of self-reflection and repentance. Ultimately, Dostoevsky's portrayal of Raskolnikov's journey in Crime and Punishment is a powerful exploration of the human psyche and the complexities of morality. The novel challenges readers to consider the limitations of reason, the importance of empathy, and the potential for redemption in the face of moral failings. Through Raskolnikov's struggles and transformation, Dostoevsky offers a profound meditation on the nature of guilt, the flaws of moral relativism, and the enduring quest for self-understanding and forgiveness. His insights remain as relevant today as they were in his time, offering timeless lessons on the interplay between reason, morality, and the human spirit. Dostoevsky's works are often remembered for their exploration of human suffering, moral ambiguity, and the darker aspects of the psyche. Yet, woven into these profound examinations are threads of hope and redemption, suggesting that even in the midst of despair, humanity can find meaning, connection, and salvation. One of the clearest examples of this redemptive philosophy is found in The Idiot. The protagonist, Prince Mishkin, is often regarded as Dostoevsky's attempt to portray a Christ-like figure, a man of innocence, compassion, and unshakable faith in the goodness of humanity. Mishkin's reflections on life and death, shaped by Dostoevsky's own experiences, illuminate the transformative potential of gratitude and empathy in a transient world. In The Idiot, Mishkin recounts an anecdote about a man who faces imminent execution but is granted a last-minute reprieve. This experience, almost identical to Dostoevsky's own near-execution, serves as a powerful meditation on the fragility and value of life. The awareness of being moments away from death transforms the man's perception of time, making every moment infinitely precious. This heightened appreciation for life's fleeting nature inspires a profound sense of gratitude and a recognition of the beauty inherent in even the simplest experiences. Dostoevsky uses this reflection to suggest that an acute awareness of mortality can awaken a deeper understanding of life's value and a greater capacity for compassion. Dostoevsky believed that humanity's imperfections, though a source of suffering, were also a pathway to growth and redemption. He rejected the idea of human perfection as an attainable ideal, instead embracing the messiness of human existence as essential to its meaning. In his view, it is precisely through suffering and failure that individuals are able to develop empathy, connect with others, and find spiritual renewal. This perspective is evident not only in The Idiot, but throughout Dostoevsky's body of work, where characters often undergo profound transformations through their struggles. The concept of redemption through suffering and compassion is not limited to the grand gestures or dramatic turning points found in Dostoevsky's novels. It can be observed in the small, everyday acts of kindness and understanding that define human relationships. Consider, for example, a scenario where a person makes a significant mistake at work, causing harm to a colleague or the organization. The natural response might be guilt and self-recrimination, but the opportunity for redemption arises when they take responsibility, apologize, and make amends. In doing so, they not only repair the damage but also strengthen their character and relationships, demonstrating the transformative power of humility and empathy. Similarly, Dostoevsky emphasizes the role of faith in the process of redemption. While his works do not prescribe a specific religious doctrine, they often explore the idea that faith provides a framework for understanding and overcoming human imperfection. In Crime and Punishment, Sonia Marmeladov serves as a beacon of faith and compassion, guiding Raskolnikov toward repentance and redemption. Despite her own suffering, Sonia's unwavering belief in the possibility of salvation exemplifies Dostoevsky's conviction that faith can be a source of strength and renewal. Faith, in Dostoevsky's view, is not limited to religious belief but encompasses a broader sense of trust in the inherent worth and potential of humanity. This idea is particularly relevant in the context of forgiveness, a recurring theme in Dostoevsky's works. Forgiveness, both of oneself and others, is portrayed as a necessary step in the journey toward redemption. By forgiving others, individuals break the cycle of resentment and vengeance, creating space for healing and reconciliation. By forgiving themselves, they release the burden of guilt and open the door to personal growth. A relatable example of this can be found in the realm of personal relationships. Imagine a long-standing friendship that is strained by a betrayal or misunderstanding. The decision to forgive, while difficult, often leads to a deeper and more authentic connection. This process mirrors Dostoevsky's belief that redemption is not about erasing past mistakes, but about transforming them into opportunities for growth and connection. It is through the acknowledgement of flaws and the willingness to move forward that individuals find meaning and purpose. Dostoevsky's emphasis on compassion as a vehicle for redemption is particularly poignant in a world often characterized by division and conflict. His works remind us that empathy, the ability to see the world through another's eyes, is a powerful antidote to alienation and despair. In The Brothers Karamazov, Father Zosima embodies this philosophy, advocating for love and understanding as the foundation of human relationships. His teachings resonate with the idea that redemption is not a solitary endeavor but a collective one, rooted in the bonds we share with others. This idea finds resonance in contemporary movements that prioritize restorative justice over punitive measures. Restorative justice seeks to repair harm by fostering dialogue, understanding, and reconciliation between offenders and victims. This approach aligns with Dostoevsky's belief in the potential for redemption and the importance of compassion in addressing wrongdoing. By focusing on healing rather than punishment, restorative justice emphasizes the possibility of transformation and the value of human connection. Dostoevsky's exploration of redemption also challenges the notion that suffering is inherently negative or meaningless. While he does not glorify pain, he acknowledges its role as a catalyst for self-discovery and spiritual growth. In Notes from Underground, the underground man grapples with the paradox of human suffering, ultimately rejecting the idea that it can or should be eliminated. Instead, he argues that suffering is an integral part of the human experience, shaping our identities and deepening our understanding of life. This perspective is particularly relevant in a culture that often prioritizes comfort and avoidance of pain. Dostoevsky's works invite us to reconsider our relationship with suffering, suggesting that it can be a source of strength and resilience. Consider the experience of overcoming a personal challenge, such as recovering from an illness or navigating a difficult life transition. While these experiences are undoubtedly painful, they often lead to a greater appreciation for life and a renewed sense of purpose. Dostoevsky's philosophy encourages us to embrace these moments as opportunities for growth rather than obstacles to be avoided. Ultimately, Dostoevsky's portrayal of redemption through faith and compassion offers a profound commentary on the human condition. His characters, though flawed and often tormented, remind us that imperfection is not a barrier to redemption but a prerequisite for it. By acknowledging our flaws, embracing our shared humanity, and striving to connect with others, we find the path to renewal and meaning. Dostoevsky's insights, though rooted in the 19th century, continue to resonate in a world where the search for purpose and understanding remains as vital as ever. Dostoevsky's philosophy resonates deeply because it mirrors the struggles and contradictions of modern life. His exploration of human nature, suffering, and the search for meaning provides a lens through which we can understand our own experiences. Consider the first example, the modern pursuit of perfection. This scenario highlights the ambitious entrepreneur who dedicates their life to achieving material success, sacrificing relationships, health, and personal well-being along the way. Their journey is driven by a belief that wealth and accomplishments will bring fulfillment. Yet when the goal is reached, it feels hollow. The disconnect between their expectations and reality reflects Dostoevsky's assertion that humanity often sabotages its happiness, driven by an insatiable desire for agency and control. This dynamic is not limited to entrepreneurs. It is a pattern seen in various aspects of contemporary life. From academic pursuits to athletic achievements, a student striving for top grades might forego meaningful social interactions, only to realize that the accolades they earn do little to alleviate a sense of isolation or dissatisfaction. An athlete might devote years to rigorous training, reaching the pinnacle of their sport, only to find themselves questioning what comes next. These experiences underscore Dostoevsky's belief that the human condition is defined not by the attainment of goals, but by the contradictions and struggles encountered along the way. The harder we chase an ideal, the more elusive fulfillment becomes, as we are often blind to the true sources of meaning and contentment. Dostoevsky's critique of this pursuit is not a rejection of ambition, but a warning against placing undue faith in external markers of success. He suggests that fulfillment lies not in achieving perfection, but in embracing imperfection, recognizing the intrinsic value of relationships, and finding purpose beyond the self. This perspective challenges modern cultural narratives that equate happiness with material wealth or social status, inviting us to reevaluate what truly matters. The second example, the healing power of compassion, offers a contrasting narrative. Imagine a volunteer working with refugees, confronting immense suffering daily. They see the pain of displaced families, hear stories of loss, and witness the profound hardships these individuals endure. Yet, rather than succumbing to despair, the volunteer finds purpose in their acts of kindness, offering a comforting word, helping someone rebuild their life, or simply being present in a moment of need becomes a source of fulfillment and connection. This example reflects Dostoevsky's belief in redemption through empathy and shared humanity. By stepping outside oneself and engaging with the suffering of others, the volunteer discovers a deeper sense of purpose and belonging. This dynamic is central to Dostoevsky's philosophy. He believed that human connection and compassion were antidotes to the alienation and despair that often accompany modern life. His works consistently emphasize the transformative power of empathy, portraying characters who find redemption not through personal achievement, but through their relationships with others. Sonia Marmeladov in Crime and Punishment exemplifies this principle. Despite her own suffering, she extends unwavering support and forgiveness to Raskolnikov, guiding him toward repentance and spiritual renewal. Her compassion becomes the catalyst for his redemption, illustrating Dostoevsky's conviction that true healing is found in acts of selfless love. The power of compassion is not limited to grand gestures. It can be seen in everyday interactions: a teacher who takes extra time to help a struggling student, a neighbor who checks in on someone during a difficult time, or a stranger who offers a kind word to someone in distress. These seemingly small acts create ripples of positivity, fostering connection and alleviating suffering. Dostoevsky's philosophy reminds us that these moments of empathy are not insignificant. They are the foundation of a meaningful life. The tension between these two examples, the pursuit of perfection and the power of compassion, highlights the central paradox of human existence in Dostoevsky's worldview. On one hand, we are driven by a desire for control, achievement, and self-assertion. On the other, we are profoundly shaped by our connections with others and our capacity for empathy. The entrepreneur's dissatisfaction and the volunteer's fulfillment illustrate this dichotomy. One focuses inward, seeking meaning through personal success, while the other looks outward, finding purpose and service to others. Dostoevsky's insight into this paradox is particularly relevant in today's world, where social media and cultural narratives often amplify the pressure to project an image of perfection. The curated lives we see online can create unrealistic expectations, fostering a sense of inadequacy and disconnection. At the same time, stories of kindness, resilience, and community remind us of the enduring importance of compassion and human connection. Dostoevsky's philosophy challenges us to navigate these competing forces, urging us to prioritize relationships and shared humanity over the relentless pursuit of unattainable ideals. To make this tangible, consider the impact of a community coming together during a crisis. When natural disasters strike, people often put aside their differences to help one another, embodying the kind of compassion Dostoevsky celebrated. In these moments, the focus shifts from individual achievement to collective well-being, highlighting the resilience and strength that emerge from acts of solidarity. These examples serve as a powerful reminder of the potential for redemption and hope. Even in the face of immense suffering, Dostoevsky's stories resonate because they reflect universal truths about the human experience. They remind us that suffering is an inescapable part of life, but that it also holds the potential for growth, connection, and meaning. The entrepreneur's pursuit of perfection and the volunteer's compassion-driven purpose are not merely fictional scenarios. They are reflections of the choices and struggles we face every day. Dostoevsky's philosophy encourages us to embrace these contradictions, finding beauty and significance in the imperfect, messy, and deeply human aspects of our lives. Dostoevsky's work is a profound exploration of the human condition, revealing that life's meaning is not found in the absence of suffering, but in the way we confront and embrace it. His characters often endure immense struggles, yet these trials serve as catalysts for growth, self-awareness, and transformation. Dostoevsky believed that suffering was not only inevitable, but also necessary for understanding oneself and the world. He argued that by accepting life's imperfections and finding meaning within them, we can navigate the chaos of existence with resilience and purpose. One of Dostoevsky's key lessons is the importance of self-awareness. His characters frequently grapple with internal conflicts, exposing the complexity of human nature. Raskolnikov in Crime and Punishment is a vivid example of this struggle. His descent into guilt and paranoia after committing murder reveals the disconnect between his intellectual justification and his emotional reality. Through Raskolnikov's torment, Dostoevsky illustrates that true understanding of oneself requires confronting uncomfortable truths and acknowledging one's flaws. This lesson resonates in everyday life, where self-awareness often emerges from moments of hardship or failure. For instance, someone who faces a significant personal setback, such as the loss of a job, might initially feel defeated, but ultimately use the experience as an opportunity to reflect, grow, and redefine their goals. Faith is another cornerstone of Dostoevsky's philosophy. While he does not present faith as a simplistic solution, he portrays it as a vital framework for navigating life's uncertainties. Faith, for Dostoevsky, is not limited to religious belief. It encompasses trust in the inherent value of existence and the potential for redemption. Sonia Marmeladov's unwavering faith in crime and punishment exemplifies this idea. Despite her suffering, she remains compassionate and hopeful, embodying the strength that faith can provide. Her belief in Raskolnikov's capacity for redemption becomes a source of healing for both of them. This dynamic underscores Dostoevsky's conviction that faith, whether in others, in oneself, or in something greater, offers a foundation for resilience and transformation. In today's world, where uncertainty and complexity often dominate, Dostoevsky's insights into faith are particularly relevant. Consider the challenges posed by global crises, such as the COVID-19 pandemic. The ability to maintain faith in the face of adversity, faith in science, in community, and in the eventual resolution of difficulties has been a key factor in individual and collective resilience. Dostoevsky's work reminds us that faith is not about ignoring reality, but about finding strength and meaning within it. Compassion is another central theme in Dostoevsky's philosophy. His characters often discover redemption through acts of empathy and kindness, emphasizing the transformative power of human connection. Prince Mishkin in The Idiot exemplifies this principle. His genuine concern for others, despite their flaws and shortcomings, reflects Dostoevsky's belief that compassion can transcend human imperfection. In a contemporary context, this lesson is evident in the everyday acts of kindness that foster connection and alleviate suffering. For example, a person who takes the time to listen to a friend in distress, offering understanding and support, demonstrates the profound impact of compassion. Such moments create ripples of positivity, reminding us of our shared humanity. Dostoevsky also challenges us to see beauty in imperfection. He rejected the notion of a utopian society, arguing that life's value lies in its contradictions and complexities. In Notes from Underground, the Underground Man critiques the pursuit of perfection, suggesting that human nature thrives on struggle and individuality. This idea is particularly relevant in a culture that often prioritizes image and perfection over authenticity. Social media, for instance, can create unrealistic expectations, fostering a sense of inadequacy. Dostoevsky's work encourages us to embrace our imperfections and recognize that they are integral to our identity and experience. To make this concept relatable, consider the beauty of handmade objects. Unlike mass-produced items, handcrafted pieces often bear small flaws, uneven stitching, slight asymmetry, or irregular patterns. Yet, these imperfections make them unique and imbue them with character. Similarly, Dostoevsky teaches us to appreciate the imperfections in ourselves and others, recognizing them as sources of authenticity and connection. Life's fleeting moments, with all their imperfections, hold a beauty that perfection cannot replicate. Another critical lesson from Dostoevsky is the importance of cherishing life's transient nature. His near-execution experience profoundly shaped his awareness of mortality, a theme that recurs in his works. Prince Mishkin's reflections on the fleetingness of life in The Idiot remind us that an acute awareness of death can heighten our appreciation for the present. This perspective invites us to savor everyday moments, recognizing their impermanence as a source of meaning. For instance, the simple joy of watching a sunset, sharing a meal with loved ones, or hearing a child's laughter becomes more profound when we acknowledge that these experiences are not guaranteed. In a modern context, this lesson is particularly significant in a world that often prioritizes productivity and achievement over presence and mindfulness. Dostoevsky's philosophy encourages us to slow down and find value in the here and now. Consider the practice of mindfulness, which aligns with Dostoevsky's insights by emphasizing awareness and gratitude for the present moment. Through mindfulness, we can learn to appreciate life's fleeting beauty and find contentment in its simplicity. Ultimately, Dostoevsky's work offers a roadmap for navigating life's challenges with grace and resilience. His characters, though flawed and often tormented, remind us that suffering is not a barrier to meaning but a pathway to it. By embracing self-awareness, faith, and compassion, we can find purpose in the midst of chaos and imperfection. Dostoevsky's lessons are timeless, inviting us to reflect on our own lives and the ways in which we confront adversity, connect with others, and cherish the moments that define our existence. Dostoevsky's relevance in today's world is undeniable, particularly as we grapple with the complexities of technological advancements and existential crises. His insights cut through the modern pursuit of perfection and the illusions of progress to reveal the deeper truths of human existence. Dostoevsky understood that the human condition is not defined by linear improvement or technological solutions, but by the interplay of our rational and irrational natures, our struggles, and our flawed attempts to find meaning. His works are a reminder that striving for utopia, a perfect, pain-free existence, is not only futile, but often destructive, as it ignores the chaos and contradictions that are intrinsic to being human. The dangers of ignoring our irrational nature are evident in the way modern technology often seeks to optimize or control human behavior. Algorithms designed to predict preferences and streamline experiences can have unintended consequences, such as fostering echo chambers or exacerbating mental health issues. Dostoevsky's critique of rationalism speaks directly to these challenges, highlighting the limitations of systems that attempt to reduce human complexity to data points or formulas. In Notes from Underground, the underground man resists the notion that people can be programmed for happiness, arguing that such an approach strips away individuality and freedom. This critique remains deeply relevant as we navigate the ethical implications of artificial intelligence, surveillance, and the commodification of human behavior. Consider the example of social media, a technological advancement meant to connect people and enhance communication. While it has achieved these goals in many ways, it has also contributed to rising levels of anxiety, loneliness, and polarization. The curated perfection often presented on these platforms can create unrealistic expectations, leading to feelings of inadequacy and dissatisfaction. Dostoevsky's philosophy challenges us to embrace our flaws and imperfections instead of striving for an idealized version of ourselves. His work reminds us that the beauty of life lies in its messiness, its unpredictability, and its struggles, not in the artificial gloss of perfection. Dostoevsky also offers a profound critique of the pursuit of utopia, a vision that continues to shape modern political and social ideologies. Efforts to engineer a perfect society often fail to account for the complexities of human nature, leading to unintended consequences. Historical examples, such as the rise of totalitarian regimes in the 20th century, demonstrate the dangers of utopian thinking when it is divorced from the realities of human imperfection. Dostoevsky's works, particularly the brothers Karamazov, explore the tension between individual freedom and societal ideals, warning against systems that prioritize order and uniformity over diversity and agency. This critique is especially relevant as we face global challenges like climate change and economic inequality. While large-scale solutions are necessary, Dostoevsky's insights remind us that these efforts must be grounded in empathy, humility, and an understanding of human fallibility. Overly rigid or technocratic approaches risk alienating the very people they aim to help, reinforcing the need for compassion and collaboration in addressing complex issues. At the heart of Dostoevsky's philosophy is the idea that meaning is found not in achieving perfection, but in embracing the struggle. This perspective is both sobering and hopeful, as it reframes suffering and imperfection as essential aspects of the human experience. For instance, consider the challenges of personal growth, whether it's overcoming a fear, navigating a difficult relationship, or building a career. The process is rarely smooth or painless. Yet, it is through these struggles that we learn, adapt, and ultimately find a sense of purpose. Dostoevsky's works encourage us to view these experiences not as obstacles but as opportunities for self-discovery and transformation. A relatable example can be found in the challenges of parenting. Raising children is often fraught with uncertainty, mistakes, and moments of doubt. Parents might strive to create the perfect environment for their children, only to realize that their imperfections and vulnerabilities are what make their relationships authentic and meaningful. Dostoevsky's philosophy resonates here, reminding us that perfection is not the goal. Rather, it is the love, effort, and resilience demonstrated in the face of challenges that truly matter. Dostoevsky's exploration of imperfection extends to his portrayal of characters who are deeply flawed yet profoundly human. Figures like Raskolnikov, Prince Mishkin, and the Underground Man reflect the contradictions and complexities of human nature. They make mistakes, wrestle with guilt and doubt, and struggle to find redemption. Through their stories, Dostoevsky invites us to see ourselves in their flaws and to recognize the shared humanity that binds us all. His characters remind us that imperfection is not a barrier to connection or growth, but a bridge that allows us to empathize with others and understand ourselves. This perspective is particularly valuable in a world where perfectionism often dominates. From the pressure to succeed professionally to the desire to present an idealized image online, the pursuit of perfection can be exhausting and isolating. Dostoevsky's work offers an antidote to this mindset, encouraging us to embrace vulnerability and find strength in our shared struggles. His philosophy teaches that it is through our imperfections that we connect with others, foster compassion, and create meaning. As we reflect on Dostoevsky's lessons, it is worth considering how they can inform our choices and priorities. In a fast-paced, achievement-oriented society, his work challenges us to slow down and appreciate the present moment. Life's beauty, he suggests, lies not in its predictability or perfection, but in its fleeting, imperfect nature. This idea is particularly resonant in practices like mindfulness and gratitude, which align with Dostoevsky's emphasis on finding joy in life's small, everyday moments. For instance, taking the time to savor a cup of coffee, enjoy a conversation with a friend, or notice the changing colors of the sky can remind us of the richness of life's simplicity. Dostoevsky's insights encourage us to cultivate these moments of presence and gratitude, recognizing that they are as significant as life's grand achievements. In doing so, we can find a sense of balance and fulfillment that transcends the constant striving for more. Ultimately, Dostoevsky's philosophy offers a timeless and deeply human perspective on the challenges and joys of existence. His work invites us to confront our flaws, embrace our struggles, and seek meaning in the connections we forge with others. In a world often focused on progress and perfection, Dostoevsky's insights remind us that it is our imperfections, vulnerabilities, and shared humanity that make life worth living. By finding beauty in imperfection and gratitude in the present moment, we can navigate the complexities of modern life with a sense of purpose and hope. Dostoevsky's philosophy, though rooted in the struggles of 19th-century Russia, transcends time and culture. His insights into human nature, the ways we wrestle with suffering, the contradictions we embody, and the redemption we find in faith and compassion resonate deeply in today's world. As we face our own challenges, from personal struggles to global crises, Dostoevsky's wisdom reminds us that life's meaning isn't found in escaping pain or seeking perfection. It's in the struggle itself. So, as you move forward in your day, ask yourself, what if my flaws are not my weakness but my strength? What if the beauty of life lies not in avoiding its messiness but in embracing it fully? Dostoevsky's stories inspire us to see imperfection not as something to fear, but as something to cherish, a doorway to growth, connection, and the kind of humanity that no algorithm or utopia can replicate. If this video sparked new thoughts or shifted your perspective, take a moment to share it with someone who might need it. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content that dives deep into ideas worth exploring. And if you're feeling generous, consider donating to help us continue creating videos that make you think, feel, and grow. Thank you for watching. And remember, it's not perfection that makes us human, it's the beauty we find in imperfection. See you in the next video.